What ruined religion for you? Going to a megachurch. They received over $1 million in donations every weekend and spent it on elaborate props and videos, rather than helping the community in any meaningful way. Being kicked out of Christian school prior to the 3rd grade because my mom bought the wrong edition of the Bible. People using it to justify their hate. Seeing how people use religion as an excuse to be shitty people around the world. So many people just bend their interpretation of a religion to fit whatever they want. When the pastor started ranting about the evils of women, saying that Satan walks among us in the body of every female and men must take measures against them. It was later enforced in my mind when I met his very timid granddaughter in high school. She fully believed she was cursed from birth and showed serious signs of abuse. It didn't make me think all Christians are evil, but it showed me how easily a religion led by humans can be warped. That theme has been shown to me too many times now to get behind the idea of any formal religion. I worked at a restaurant near a church on Sundays. Rudest bunch of people ever. What is the unspoken rule of Reddit? Don't tell your friends and family your username. On controversial topics, check controversial comments. Removed. Don't let anyone see your Reddit account. Don't share your life history on Reddit, because it always remembers everything you posted. You never share your username with people you know. Ever. What single ingredient spoils an entire food dish for you if it's included? Warm something up with radish, which is good raw, and it will infuse the food with the taste of death. Not necessarily food but stevia leaf or most artificial sweetener. I can always tell when they add that garbage. When whoever you're with makes breakfast using coconut oil, coconut flavored eggs, or bacon, anyone. Coriander. Cilantro? I'm Aussie, so we just call it coriander. Caraway seeds. When you bite into one, it tastes like someone farted in your mouth. Jello. Might be a white person thing, but at every single family gathering I've went to there was some kind of dessert that would have been great if Jello wasn't added. They always fucking add the Jello. Not even the good kind either. Always the worst flavors. What the fuck is a Jello salad? Why does a Jello salad exist in the first place? Nobody ever touched the Jello salad. Never stops them from making it though. Year after year family gatherings were tainted with my disgust for Jello salad. I stopped going to family gatherings a few years back. I couldn't take the unbearable encounters with the cursed dessert any longer. Who would be the worst possible next James Bond? Steven Seagal. James Corden. Prince Andrew. John Travolta with Nick Cage's face. Kevin James. Bond. Kevin James Bond. Gilbert Gottfried. Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What client of yours was so bad that you personally hoped they wouldn't get anything in a settlement? Client got caught cheating on his wife. Wanted a divorce but didn't have the balls to tell her so and asked me to inform her he was filing for divorce 2 days after she had his child. Not a lawyer, but when my parents got divorced, my father suggested a parent trap-like arrangement where he would get full custody of my brother and my mom would get custody of me because it's only fair that each parent gets to keep one child. It's 50-50. Pretty sure this is illegal here, and even if it were possible, no sane lawyer would ever agree to this. He actually sent that to her over text and we still have the screenshots. Mom only sent back, "Are you delusional?" Quote. I did have a case where my client fought really hard for the dog and then ended up turning him over to a shelter. Fucking asshole. The ex-wife received an anonymous tip and was able to get him back quickly. Other than that, it isn't usually a client that's bad. Also, if they are, you can just fire them. Typically it's the opposing counsel, self-represented opposing party that's awful. My ex was a lawyer, and the saddest case was when both parties were fighting over 2 little kids. Because neither parent wanted them crying. I have a cousin that was a divorce lawyer, and she always said, crime law is the worst people on their best behavior and divorce law is good people on their worst behavior. Not an attorney. But my parents spent tens of thousands on a divorce and drug us kids through all the BS associated with it, only to get back together 8 months later. Not fully going through with the divorce. And setting us back financially for years. We lost all of our cattle and most of our land. Then 10 years of them constantly fighting and hating each other until they got divorced when I was 19. They once again spent thousands and drug us kids along with them. Using us as pawns against each other with threats of cutting us off if we didn't comply. One reason they fought so much was because of money. Money they had spent on the first divorce. Moral of the story. If you're going to get a divorce, go through with it the first time. Also, don't stay married for the kids. I'd much rather have split time between my parents than live with 2 people who hated each other. She got back with him because she believed he'd changed. #face palm. What's the stupidest thing you ever seen a religious person call satanic? For a while I wasn't allowed to use the word weird because it was associated with witchcraft. Apparently because Shakespeare wrote about the witches of weird. Without a shred of sarcasm, I once heard an evangelical describe hot Cheetos as a product of the devil. Back in the 70s it was a lot of stupid barcodes. The little symbol on Procter & Gamble products. Yoga and/or meditation. Lots of different music by different artists. My small-town Christian private school had a particular teacher who was absolutely dying mad about his students' fondness for Michael Jackson, AC/DC, and other bands of the time. The funniest one of all was dancing. The joke around my conservative Christian college in the 80s was that sex was outlawed because it could lead to dancing. For some bizarre reason, the administration thought dancing was totally evil. I knew this Christian lady that refused to eat deviled eggs. Being left-handed. A church I visited wouldn't let me play music BC of it. 14-year-old me with a CD player. What's a word or phrase that is often said incorrectly? Mute point. Drives me up a wall. It's moot point. Damn Philistines. Irregardless. These are sometimes called eggcorns and mondegreens. Both terms are based on mishearing a word or phrase. Like, eggcorn, instead of acorn, or intensive purposes, instead of intents and purposes. The main difference between the two is that eggcorns tend to make the phrase nonsensical, while mondegreens fundamentally change the meaning. So, I could care less, is a mondegreen of, I couldn't care less, in the original. You don't care at all. But in the mondegreen, you do care at least a little bit. Etc. and ect. Instead of etc. and etc. Understandable, I suppose, given it's a dead language. But it still ruffles my feathers. It's all intents and purposes and not all intensive purposes. Better than, instead of correctly saying, better than. You can make one thing 5% bigger. What do you choose? The financial returns on all my investment, gambling choices. The close ad button when an ad ends. Blue whales. No one would really know, but I'd know. My income. Percentage of world's wealth owned by me. The chances of my dad surviving cancer. Subscribe, my brothers.